I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, okay, so first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read through the minutes from April 3rd?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion for discussion.
I'll move.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. I just want to make one correction. Under the chamber, Marty Zestro was not in attendance. For the contract meeting, it was Neil, Tracy Joy, and myself. That's the only thing, okay, anything else? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, highway!
Alright, so we'll start out with the agreement that we were discussing at the last meeting. I added the second to last paragraph, which gives either town the right to cancel the agreement with 30-day notice. I think that's all we're asking for, correct? And tonight at Arietta Town Board meeting, they should be approving the same contract. So I assume we'll just pass a resolution to accept this contract and then one person can, the supervisor can sign it.
So
My idea.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, Michelle? Any discussion?
I think we've discussed it, all the
Okay.
ramifications, etc.
None? Hearing none? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okey-dokey.
That was easy.
That was easy. Yeah.
We're still working on the drags and the groomers, hopefully this week finishing them up. We posted the roads for weights. I spoke to Tracy Eldridge. He's thinking the end of the month before they come unposted. We started sweeping roads today. That usually takes a week.
Thanks, it's gonna snow. Thank you.
Yeah, and as long as it doesn't snow again. We also spent probably 2 guys almost a day and a half driving around fixing town road signs on the ends of the streets and so on and so forth. Stop signs and yield signs and such. Not saying that the guys don't hit them, but it's amazing when they got the snow melted, just how many this year were laying on their sides and so on. We ran into a little bit of this is going to be a lengthy discussion, I'm sure. Difficulty with the 911 signage for Perkins Clearing Road. Perkins Clearing Road, as we all know it, and where it should be, is 7.2 miles long from the south end to the north end. Then the big intersection, halfway through, takes off Military Road, goes up to Pillsbury Mountain. From that, where you go up, turn to actually go up to Pillsbury Mountain, Jessup River Road starts from there and goes towards Spruce Lake. The farthest point up in Perkins Clearing. Somehow the New York State maps, plus the 911 map that they have at the jail, this is where this is stemming from, and the maps that they have at the county soil and water, that were created when all of us got our 911 addresses, has from that intersection of Military Road and Perkins Clearing south as Jessup River Road. So the sign, if someone, which this is how this all came about last fall, someone reported having a issue, needed an ambulance at the 2-mile marker for Jessup River Road. The ambulance only went in the south end because they're going by their 911 map, and they stopped at the 2-mile marker and said nobody's here. Hence, they had about 7, 8, 9 more miles to go to get where they needed to be, with this gentleman having issues, stroke, as a matter of fact. So I started doing some investigating last year, and now, last week, I did a lot more investigating how this all came about. And it started way back in 2009 when the 911 maps were actually built. And DEC, of course, went off of that when they built their maps. So I have talked to DEC, and that's being changed. We're getting new signs for the mile markers. We already installed 2 new Perkins Clearing Road signs, one at each end of it. The south end and the north end. And I also went up to see Barry Baker at Hamilton County. And this is where things got lengthy. Since there's over 100 camps in the Perkins Clearing and down here in the tree farm area, that Lime Timber leases the property in their private camps. And the fire department is supposed to be able to access these camps. Tom Akins and I sat down and discussed, how do we go about, or do we go about, first would be the first question, making a map and marking all these roads that are up there. We all know Mud Lake Road goes in there before Harvard Hill, but the new people may not know Pacebrook Camp, this, that, and everything else, where all these turns are. I'm betting most of the ambulance corps and half the fire department don't
No question.
know where any of this is. Is it our town responsibility, since we did private driveways that had more than one house on it? We went around and back in the day, put signs at every one of these roads. They say private on them underneath, but they all have 911 names on these roads. Are we supposed to be doing that, and are we basically holding ourselves accountable if we don't do that? For all these roads in, not only in the village section down here, in the tree farm, but you also have all Perkins Clearing.
Well, you're right, it's complicated because
Very
in
complicated.
the case of the privates, right-of-ways, the like of that, I had one. It was up to whomever owned those roads, right-of-ways, to name them. And during that period of time, you were able to have the municipality pay for those signs. And it was understood that would dry up, that funding would dry up and it would be up to yourself, etc. But in this case, it's tough to know who the owner of said driveway, right-of-way, whatever you wanna call it, into those camps, some of which, as you say, have spurs that go up. The owner clearly should be Lime Timber, right? It's not.
They own the land.
Yeah,
Correct.
but it's not the same as folks that, in the general parlance, the private owners took some responsibility, named it, sent it in, sometimes with some consternation from others, but we got that done. It seems like we have to make a kind of a joint effort with them.
That's.
Again, it's fire protection, and it's something we'd like to
The
do.
Lime Timber and,
Yeah.
because they can lease this property to whomever.
Oh, yeah.
So just because you have this year leased that land and next year somebody else leases that land, I mean, it doesn't usually switch that often, but.
No, there's no more 99-year leases like there were
Right.
back in the
Right,
day.
those are gone.
Yeah.
But if we have to depend for fire and EMS to go back to these places, and we're supposed to have a map of it all, which we clearly don't, because the 911 map, just on our town roads that are more populated, are, after I look at this map, found 2 roads that don't even exist, yet they're on the map. And it's woods.
Does Lime
Also,
Timber have a forester?
Hmm?
Does Lime Timber
Yes.
have a forester?
Yes.
also, if they end up leasing more property for more camps, they should be responsible to follow through with that.
Right. They are charging for these
Let us
leases with taxes
know, yeah.
and so on, so,
Randy, excuse me, what was the northern one that comes into that same, this Lead Harbor and what? Is that called Mason Lake Road? What's the
No,
general
Jessup
comments?
River Road is,
All the way through,
no. Jessup River comes from Spruce Lake
right?
all the way down to where, technically the turnoff for Pillsbury.
Okay,
From that Pillsbury turnoff down to the Perkins Clearing Road is called the Old Military Road.
right, that I'm aware of, but so is there anywhere on that map, Mason Lake Road?
Mason Lake Road, no.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you how many hunters have stayed in the inn, that's what they called it, and I knew just what they meant. But, so
Yeah.
that's the thing, you've got roads named that aren't there, and you've got others that are probably got dual roads,
Correct.
like Elm Lake Road and
East Road.
East Road, et cetera.
Yeah. The mapping
It's gonna be
is,
a job.
yeah, this is going to be a very long-winded job because at the county level, you know, he says he can't get any information from Lime Timber on the leasees themselves information. And like we just discussed, I don't think we need the leasees information. We need to know where these roads are, what names do you want on them. We're out and make sure we have a road name to every camp.
The municipality would like to protect their property and lives,
Right.
but we don't really have to have that in order to proceed. You just need something that can grid out those, name them, and then put those signs up.
Right.
And then there's the cost of the signs.
I think that there's a cost to the signs.
Yep. And then there's the cost of sign posts and maintaining the signs, because you know, as soon as you put up a sign and Joe Schmo doesn't like it, it's gone. It's wild, wild west up there. We have a hard enough time keeping the Perkins Clearing Road up, because everybody wants that memorabilia.
Well, certainly our fire departments and clearly our EMS probably don't relish going in there.
Right.
In certain weathers, et cetera, but we shouldn't handicap them farther if there's a way to at least identify the.
Yeah, I mean,
Spot.
we say we have this 911 map, and then shows basically a third, if I'm being lenient, of what roads are actually up there. So it's kind of horrendous. I hated to open this can of worms, but when we had it, you know, it only takes one person to die, we had a close call, and now they come to me with it, and now
Who
Can't
they
ignore it.
came-
Who they came to you?
the camp leasee,
Oh.
whose father was the patient that was patiently waiting for an ambulance that showed up an hour and 45 minutes later. So that was having a stroke.
Yeah, again, we
Scary
need to
thought.
do whatever we can. Keep in mind, everyone wants to be off the grid until they don't.
Right. And, you know, cell phones don't work and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. They gotta go 2 miles down the road to find a
Right.
cell phone. And then they're trying to get back to them to find out, you know, it was just, it's what we deal with here all the time.
All the time.
But this is something I think we should pursue. That being said, moving on to the next time frame of my time, we have a request for a new driveway that has 3 houses on it. Well, 2 houses and a garage. And I guess according to Barry Baker, we need board approval to make the sign. The people have asked for the word bumpy, because the property used to be owned by Bumps. And Bumpy Lane is at 351 South Shore Road.
The one right across from my in-laws.
Yes. Yep. Which the road that's right across from your in-laws isn't on the 911 map yet either.
But never mind. They might have bought it from the Bumps, but it goes back even further historically besides the Bumps.
Right,
They just happened to fall into it. Flynn's.
yeah. I'm just going with what they asked.
I've no problem with it. I mean, if we have a new road,
With multiple houses.
we have to
on
put the sign up.
it. Right.
Yeah, it
And
used to be just a
then the
driveway.
next thing is I take that to Lynn puts it in the tax thing, that goes to Barry, blah, 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 all the way down the line.
Yeah, it's to give them proper addresses.
And then it
That was
gets-
the idea of the whole.
At some point in time, it'll hit
program.
911 and we're gonna get to know these people very well, whomever it is.
Is Bumpy Lane something that the UPS truck would make it down?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. All the time.
You gotta have a proper address.
Yeah,
They even have, they're the ones that put the street light at the end of it.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
they were here asking for the street light, and they went and put their own. And now there's the
Any estimate?
chef at the school.
Okay.
And she, what, no, he's the
He
chef.
is.
He is,
She's
and
working
she
at-
works in the finance
right.
office.
Okay.
Is there any guesstimate on what those signs cost? I mean, we haven't had to buy one in a long
I
time.
haven't, no, I
No,
don't.
we gotta do it, so.
And in this whole 911 thing, Tom Akins and I are gonna take that map from the sheriff's department, or get another copy of it, and we're gonna go around checking all the rest of them, because just in the 5 minutes it took me to look at it, there's 2 roads that flat out are not there. And they have names on them,
Yeah,
so.
Well,
Yeah.
take your time and get it right.
yep.
So do I need approval for that? Do I need a resolution for that sign name?
It's up to you. I so move.
All right, yeah, there you go.
I mean, we don't
Spell
have,
it right.
we don't have a price.
Bumpy.
Okay, a second?
Got it. I'll second it. Yeah, it used to
Any
be
further
just
discussion?
Driveway, now a road.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, go ahead, Randy, go on.
Okay, so the boiler people showed up today with a brand new boiler. They hope to have it finished tomorrow. So thankfully it's nice and warm out, and
Right.
we have the electric heat back up even if it wasn't, so.
Good.
He's got it, he's just hooking up all the valving and all that now, because as we do it when fit, everything's never the same. We had a stuck zone valve in the health center for one of the heaters. It was reported to us by our cleaning department, and we fixed it the next morning. We've had a sump pump go bad in this building and one in the house, outside the health center. And we've also had, miraculously, 2 dehumidifiers, one in each building, go bad also. The dehumidifiers I can almost reason with because they are somewhere around when Jack was here that we bought them, so they've done their duty. We actually moved one, we had 3 over there, and we moved one of them here at one point, so they'll be installed, the dehumidifiers will be installed tomorrow. And it is the season for
Yeah.
sump pumps.
Well, that's the only area of that basement I didn't clean was around the sump pump, so it's all yours.
Yep. Their sump pumps have all been changed. That's it.
That's
on my
it?
list.
Okay, so I did ask Tracy to come, just to kind of sit in. Next is the Chamber of Commerce contract. At the last meeting, there were some concerns that there was no list of events the chamber was planning on doing. So I sent you all a copy of the upcoming chamber events that they are doing and the upcoming chamber promotional assists that they are doing. So did everybody get a chance to read through that? Did this answer the questions from the last meeting that you all had? And if not, if there's something else, maybe we can talk about it, add it, and get this done,
I think it addresses all my concerns.
okay? Kathy?
It addresses my concerns. I'm willing to, you know, with all of these changes, give them a year, and if things,
Okay. Michelle?
I agree with Kathy.
I feel the same way, okay?
Excuse me, did we leave, put that in the bills already?
No, I have a separate one here for that, yeah, I did that separate. Okay, so does someone want to move that?
I do.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion, concerns, anything?
No,
No.
I think we should be very confident that the group that's there now is gonna do a good job.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so I will go ahead and sign that contract. So next thing is, I was in hopes that we were going to approve this contract today. So I did have the treasurer's office do up a voucher detail report with just the chamber contract on there, so that we can get this check in the mail tomorrow to them. I'm gonna pass this around for everybody to sign. And then that will take care of the first quarter. And that's why it seemed like the voucher detail reports were off by one number, because this was the number. This was the first one. So everything is fine with that. So tomorrow we'll get that check in the mail to them, and we're set. And everybody also received, I sent you a copy of the first quarter report and annual from the chamber. Anybody have any questions or concerns with that? Everybody?
No, I had one question though.
Sure.
Everything you're doing now is online. There's nothing, like no brochures anymore that you can go into the office or pick up here and there on restaurants or menus and everything.
Oh, no, everything, all the brochures are still there.
Yeah.
Okay, cause I went in the other
Well,
day and I was just.
It's a
Well,
much, it's a much depleted, but the things you just mentioned are definitely.
Right, we got rid of the big wooden
Yeah, I know.
things, but we got the clear plastic where, so when somebody comes in, they can see the whole,
Okay, so there are
Yes,
ones
there.
that people can take, cause not everybody is tech savvy.
oh,
Many of us like to grab little whatevers and peruse them
and
in
there's
our.
not always somebody there too.
Sure,
so,
perfect,
yes.
that's
Yes,
the question I
they're
had, thank you.
Okay, and I am gonna just, while Tracy's still here, I am gonna kind of move along here. We received, May 18th at the Lemon Tree Brewery from 5:30 to 7:30 is the 2023 annual membership dinner for the chamber. If anybody is interested in going, I'll make copies of these. It's May 18th. From 5:30 to 7:30.
Irondequoit is catering it for us.
Nice.
Good idea.
Anything else you wanna mention, Tracy, about it while you're here?
I mean, we're doing really well, we actually just finished up our interviews today for our new employees, and our ambassador program is doing very, very well, we have 15 people on our list. So, things are going really well.
That was a great idea.
We're very excited,
Good,
Yeah.
good. Keep up the great work.
thank you.
Okay, anybody have any questions or anything for Tracy while she's still here?
What's the master program?
Want to speak?
Ambassador program?
Ambassador.
So we've asked people to volunteer for us, and our businesses are offering them discounts if they volunteer for the chamber. So, like my store, the Lemon Tree, Marty, quite a few of them have given 10% off all the services are off the bill.
And it seems like more businesses are catching on to it and
Yes.
wanting to be part of it.
Yes, and
So
we will
it's
bring it up
positive.
at our dinner too,
Yep.
so,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, anything else, Marty? No? Okay. If you want to go, you can go. I know you're very busy. She's kind of between one business and another.
I hope that's going well.
So,
That is going extremely well.
Okay.
We went away the weekend and got coffee training, so hopefully
Oh,
we'll have good
baristas
coffee.
now, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
and paintings are going well,
That's
so
great.
we're getting there.
it looks great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Best of luck.
Tracy. I just thought it was a good idea in case there was any concerns with anything. She'd be right here to answer the questions and we could be done with this tonight.
She's been very responsive. I've had several meetings with her, a couple with you and then one else. They want the board to be happy and they want to start off, charging, and they have, so.
Going well.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good, that's gone. Okay, next is the STR, Short-Term Rental Committee Report. Kathy, did you wanna?
Sure. The committee met and I brought the board's thoughts, recommendations, suggestions to them. Proceeded to contact the attorney with questions that none of us could answer. And I got her response this afternoon. So, I am not ready to bring a final proposal polished up to the board tonight because I just got the responses this afternoon. So, please put us on the agenda. I'll have a packet for everybody at the next, before the next board meeting so that you can take a look ahead of time and make sure that all of your questions concerned were addressed. Also, I have 2 items that she provided us that One was how to go about the process, and it turns out we did it properly, however, we kind of winged it and,
Did it right.
yeah, we did it right. So, the committee wants to stay with the gentle approach for a year and started off this year, so that's where we'll.
Did a great job, really.
Yeah.
That was a big undertaking.
Yeah,
And still is.
I'm just, would like
Still
to have
is.
finished this tonight, but I wanna make sure that it's done right.
So I will tell everybody, initially when this all started, I contacted her on March 6th with questions about the EMS 10% property discount and also the STR, and I gave her Kathy's information because I didn't want to confuse anything. I wanted her to talk directly to Kathy. On the 7th, she called me back and she agreed. She just finally got back in touch with Kathy tonight, along with me, on the 10% discount. And I sent her an email back and said, it's too late. I mean, it's been so long that we went ahead and did our own research and found that it wasn't going to pan out for us, that we decided at the last meeting that we were no longer interested in doing this. And I did ask her to contact me tomorrow because I need to talk to her, because I personally feel 5 and 6 weeks is a long time.
long.
And I'm not happy about being charged for that. So I'm definitely will be talking tomorrow. So I just want you all to know. We did get one bill from the initial inquiry, and an initial, I think, phone
Consult
call
with
with
me.
Kathy for $210. That just came in the mail today, so that will be in the next bill pay. That is a fair bill, but after that, Laura and I, we need to talk, so I'll let you know how we make
I
out.
contacted her on the 7th with the follow-up questions after the committee met, and I got the responses this afternoon, so.
It's just,
Well, she works for a firm. Once in a while, I can remember years ago, us having troubles in Village End Town with a sole owner, you know, a person who's working their own law firm. This is the kind of thing that you have to be able to, if you can't get to, you got to be able to have someone at least respond, saying that, you know, someone's looking into this, a paralegal or whatever. Some of these questions are probably pretty elementary for them, but we need to have more
Yeah.
turnaround.
I want it in writing. And the one thing that she did say was, one of the questions was that we were concerned about the route that the village took and why, that they were concerned about litigation, and she said she wanted to consult with another person who happened to be on spring break with their kid last week. So her resource was not available in her defense.
I'm sure.
okay, so now that we've discussed that, I have campsite update on here. Has anybody heard anything new about the campsites? I heard that there is a little chitter chatter, that there is a possibility that both campsites will be open until Columbus Day, but we have to continue to pursue this. We can't give up, we have to keep the pressure on, because we have nothing really in writing yet telling us that. So everybody, keep making your phone calls, whatever you have to do, please keep doing it.
I have not heard anything from the various fishing that I was doing, but I have a new line that I don't know why I have not heard anyone else speak to this, and I didn't think of it. I know why I didn't think of it, dumb. But the many times that both my predecessors, myself, and so on have been up at Raybrook, addressing, fighting with, whatever, the park agency, who is the overlord for all of us, they have assured me over and over, written and verbal, that they're constantly looking out for the well-being of the folks, you know, their subjects, who live and work and toil within the Blue Line. Has anyone heard one word from the park agency? I mean, we've been tiptoeing all around this. I don't know why the Adirondack Conservation Council, the park agency, the Adirondack Council, the protection of everything else, all of these various over-bloated, funded agencies who continuously look out for us. We've been caterwauling for months now on this. So I did send an email, but I would like to be approved for the board to send a letter, hopefully the county as well, to the park agency. Those commissioners who hold our lives in their, gentle and strong hands, why don't they say something about, they're always concerned about our economy, so they say. This is the epitome of the state using us as a piñata. It just so happens, both of these particular places are in the town of Lake Pleasant, but every one of these towns with 106 governments in this park, they'd all get behind us. But everyone's sort of doing their own thing. This would get attention if the park agency weighed in. And yet, they sit silent. So I will see if we can't shake that off silent.
Good.
Any problem with me penning
No.
a letter for us?
No, absolutely
I
not.
will get it to you in hopes that it could go on Town of Lake Pleasant stationery.
When is the
I
next
will take care of
APA meeting? Is it like a school board where something is addressed to the board, it has to be read to the board?
I couldn't tell you. I've been to a number of these things, although I just saw, maybe it came over your transom as well. They just announced, the park agency just announced that they're going to limit they've always had a fairly robust public comment period in the beginning of their meetings, and then some other ones later. And it appears they do get long, but they're gonna limit, maybe even stop the public comment portion of the early part of the meetings, which, it's usually just been a venting session unless you're an environmentalist, in which case people take down notes and run off and things happen. But it's time here that they hear this. And of course, anything we send to the park agency is fair game to then put in the paper and in the Adirondack Explorer and every place else.
May 11th and 12th is their next meeting.
Well, we can certainly have something there by then. Thank you. And I'm glad to hear you're hearing rumblings.
I'm
Boy,
hearing,
they're on the
again,
QT.
yeah, it's, hasn't been confirmed, nothing in writing, so we need to keep the pressure on.
Yes.
Okay, so at the March 20th meeting, I had asked for a raise, this is BTI, for Marty and Vi. The hourly rate was $20. It has been the same for 6 years, and they were asking for $2 more an hour, which would be $22. I mistakenly said $18 to $20, so I wanted to verify that, and I'm looking for a motion to discuss.
Moved.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
They deserve it.
They do, but I think this is just clearing up verbiage.
Yes.
We passed a $2 raise,
Yes.
but we maybe misspoke on what the
Exactly.
base rate was.
That's exactly what I did,
Yeah, I think that
yeah.
the motion's already been carried that we give them the raise. I think we just need to clean up that language.
Yep, okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I just want to mention Marty's been going out checking the streams every other day. It's late, normally we're doing it by now, but the water was flowing so heavy and there was a lot of larvae. That was last week on, I believe it was Tuesday. But the water was flowing so heavy, it would just wash the treatment away. So she went out on Thursday, and this one stream, she went all the way to the top and all the way down, and all the larvae is gone. So did it just wash down somewhere
If it's
else?
not mature, it could wash down and become
Absolutely.
fish food.
So that's what we're hoping, but, they're checking it like every other day. They're getting anxious to start. So I just wanted to let you know that. Next is the zoning committee update. I'll let Neil take over on that.
Steve Page and myself and Vicki met several weeks ago, in fact, to go over what the planning board was proffering. After a pretty robust discussion, most of which I was remarkably listening, I thought that Vicki had a real good handle on what she wanted to do in the way of addressing sort of the dangling participles that were in the code. The code's good. I think the code is, overall, is fine. But you all have copies of what she then compiled for us. I couldn't really embellish more on what she wanted to do. But you see there, the bullet points, setting and cleaning up the language regarding fees, needs to take consideration remodeling or addition to an occupied home, which happens quite often. That was something that Steve, great to have him in those meetings at the same time, so we try to get this right. I was not aware of this, but the building heights that are mentioned within our code, they want this to be clear, that it's the top of the chimney, vent stacks, antennas, etc., instead of the highest point of the roof. That is, in most cases, the 40-foot barrier. Other definitions, further defining the garage, sheds, detached offices, and so on. I didn't realize at the time that they were already looking at a pet thing. That came as news to me, but I'm glad they were ahead of that. Fixing typos. And then some things that I don't know why they were in when they were put in regarding road stands. I don't think that's really ever been an issue with us, but she felt strongly that we should have things when there's no employees involved. I guess a road stand that has employees naturally would have traffic things or big groups or whatever, but all that is a special use permit, which is also not a hard thing, but it gives some control for the planning board.
Well, anybody that sells wood at the bottom of their driveway has got a unmanned,
Exactly. Or,
Fresh
you got a little
vegetables.
sign that says eggs or vegetables and the like of that. I think in many ways, the planning board and this recent swing on what they're trying to accomplish is on the same vein as Kathy's committee regarding just, kinder, gentler, make sure we fix things that will confuse the public. We don't need to gouge them with a lot of extra permit fees, et cetera, et cetera. And you've got it in front of you. I myself saw it as a good stab, and she was bringing it back to her planning board. Comment?
Okay. Anybody have anything they want to add? Neil just kind of mentioned the animal thing. We have a new business coming into Lake Pleasant down by Town Hall, in Jamie Waller's big barn. It's been leased by Frankie and Mike, I think it is, Page, Steve Page's son and daughter-in-law. They're going to be having a dog boarding, dog training, and doggy daycare there. They'll be selling dog food and different things for pets. And they'll be starting to work on the barn May 1st, and their plan of operation is August 1st they will be opening. So it's very encouraging, new business.
Yeah. Well, we already have a dog groomer in town, right?
And the dog groomer, yeah,
She's a mobile unit or something.
well, no,
No?
she's set up in Tanner's right now.
In the house.
Yeah,
Oh,
in the
okay,
house,
right.
yep, and she's doing well too, so the one will help the other. It'll be really good. Frankie also is involved with the ASPCA, where she came from, so she's hoping to be able to eventually bring that up here, that can help us, which is really good, and she's also checking into having her vet come up here one day a month just to do shots. Not for sick animals, but it would be huge for everybody.
we had that years ago with
We did?
Haviland,
Yeah.
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 Yep, so.
That was
Patty-
wonderful,
Patty
and he would do
Sampson's friend.
spays and neuters and.
So it's very encouraging because we all seem to have the same issues when we want to go on vacation, so. Okay,
Yeah, that would be a double plus.
Yep, absolutely. So we're really looking forward to that and hope everything works for them. So the next thing I have on the agenda is Nathan Latour meeting. Neil and I will be meeting with Patrice McMahon on Wednesday to go over the contract and discuss rising community concerns. I've been making a list of things that we have to discuss. I had a very good conversation with Patrice on the phone last week, very encouraging. She's looking just as forward to diving into this as we are. It's very overdue, as she said. And she said her heart is really in here in Speculator because this was her first primary care when they started opening them. So hopefully we can get things worked out. So we'll let you know at the next meeting on May 1st, the outcome of our meeting. Okay, now we're on to new business. President Karen
Boy,
McComb.
I get to be the first new business, huh?
What-
All right, Karen
Oh, wait a minute.
Karen, hang on 2 seconds. What are we doing with this?
So this was for you folks to read through, and the zoning book is actually on the table in my office for everybody to read through.
I should have
And
mentioned that.
yeah, that's okay. On May 15th, I believe, is our next meeting. That is when we will be having the public hearing. We have to actually advertise this for 15 days prior to the meeting to let folks know of the public hearing. So Steph and I will be deciding tomorrow what date and get that information to the Hamilton County News to get that advertised.
Okay.
At the end of that meeting on the 15th, once the public hearing is closed, then the board can vote on the changes and then it would be sent to the state for approval. So that's where we are. I'm sorry,
No
Kathy.
problem.
I was gonna intro back into that, leave that hanging.
Yeah. Okay, so Karen,
Okay, I have Karen McComb from the Lake Pleasant Library. This is our community annual report, which not only do I enjoy giving, but I'm required to do so by the Board of Regents of the state of New York. So, the little pamphlet here, I'm sorry I don't have enough for everybody, but Roxanne had limited availability to do it, and I didn't want to make multiple copies, which will be here at the library until I can get them printed at the chamber, which is more cost effective for us to do. And I'm not going to go through and read each of these numbers for you because it's pretty much self-explanatory. However, as our board, library board knows, I am a person who likes spreadsheets. And so I know that the little brochure here, the trifold, you can read on your own, and as they say, it's pretty self-explanatory. And Sherry has put her little letter on the back of it as well. But what I do want to have you pay attention to is the spreadsheet that I put together relatively quickly. Because at a previous annual report, I had been asked, well, how does this compare to?
Of course.
And it was very difficult, it is still difficult because we're still catching up with COVID numbers. So that takes a while, and the other thing is that when you look at a comparison of 20, which is a COVID year, 21 and then 22, as I spoke to Sherry about these numbers I have gotten from the annual report that she has to do and submit to the state of New York. The New York, in its infinite wisdom, will often change the parameters for reporting a certain number. So I can't say that you can, in each case, compare apples to apples with each parameter for consecutive years, because it's more like comparing a tangerine to an orange. They're both orange, they're both of the same class, but they may have changed something in their composition. So where I will bring that to your attention is, for example, resident card holders, and those are people who live in the town of Lake Pleasant, versus non-resident card holders, which are people that live in maybe the town of Arietta, the town of Wells, what have you. So you see a decrease there, and you might say, well, why is that? That's because every 5 years, people have to reissue a new apply for a reissuance of a new library card. And that has not caught up with a lot of people yet. You know, they get notified that they have to do that. The other thing that stood out right away with me is when you look at the number of children's events from 60 to 36, and so right away I called her up on that, because I was taking numbers from the annual report. And she said, again, they had changed the parameters for how that number was determined. At one time, they were letting them count parents that came in with the children for a children's event.
Got it.
Now they don't want you to, how many kids came in on their own that were like 6 months old?
If you let Sherry do her own count,
And then in July,
That's a big
she
number.
may get a report from New York State saying that we're not happy with that number, could you go back and retabulate it based
I
on
see.
some new rule that they
That's a
want?
huge
sure.
So while this is somewhat of a guideline, it's not completely accurate. It's based on the type of reporting that they want. But if you look at the overall picture, you'll see that it's not going down, it's going up. Things are moving in a forward direction. I'm a firm proponent that the library not remain stagnant, but that it moves forward even in baby steps, and things keep getting a little bit better, a little bit more community oriented on a yearly basis.
Sure.
So what I did very quickly, so the only thing I will read to you, so I'm not going to read numbers to you, that's ahead of Morgan. Very quickly, I want to tell you, and this was off the top of my head, and I'm sure I'm missing some of the things. What did our library, what can we do for the town this year? What did we do for the town in 2022? We created a reserve fund for library enhancements in our budget. So we were able to have enough money to set aside and have our first reserve fund. We had ongoing and rotating art shows. We held an artist reception. We had a successful gift card raffle where we made over $1,000. We applied for a grant for the front walkway, which we have not heard back yet, to go from one end to the other, not in the winter to be plowed. We completed the front garden. We had a Zoom program on Medicare. We are a partnership with the Historical Society where we did a successful Rhinelander tour and also 2 programs on Native American living. We sent welcome letters to new members of the community who had moved here, telling them about the community and what the library has to offer. We participated in the Community Pride Day. Last year they cleaned up around here. You know what's going on this year. And we also have the Adopt a Highway program. We did 2 programs on the history of fire towers. We promoted and supported Shakespeare in the Park program. We're refurbishing the children's room. If you haven't been in there yet, we're refurbishing the children's room. We've had successful story times with at least 3 different authors or themes involved in those story times. A successful quilting class. The Lego Club continues. We are starting a chess club for kids, which just started off to a slow start last year, but I think PM Pooler will be able to bring that up a little bit more this year. We have the Caldecott Award Initiative. We will be the only library in the South System that when we're completed, we will have every single Caldecott Award winning book in our library. We're ready for the holiday stroll. We have a very successful trunk of treats. You gotta come to that one because that one's great. We have dance classes here, which is a venue. Now that's not a library sponsored program, but we provide the space for art classes and for kids to take dance lessons. We are a collection point for Toys for Tots, and we provide a safe and welcome environment for all members of the community.
Well,
And
here's
I'm
the,
sure I missed something, because
Well-
I was doing this off the top of my head, probably a half hour.
I had 4 or
Mystery
5.
night, mystery
What did I
night.
miss?
You forgot mystery night.
Did we do that in 2022?
Oh, no,
I'll put that-
2023.
remind
You'll
me
tell
for
me next year.
2023. I was thinking back, so.
That was a comprehensive list, and one, I had 4 or 5 things in my head I wanted to say, well, geez, what about you? You
Yeah.
got them all in there.
I was just going, but I don't think we could have done it without the support of the town board, and I really appreciate the support of this town board, and the great library board that we have.
You have a very,
We
very
have
good
an
library.
excellent working group. Everybody has a little piece of action, so to speak.
Karen, one suggestion, is that great piece that you just rattled off, is that anywhere in print? I mean, that,
No, I just.
I gotta tell you,
The top of
I don't
my
think
head.
there's anyone in town, maybe even me, who could realize how many things, this is the most efficiently utilized public space we have.
It's probably the only one.
Well, we don't have a community, I'm not
No,
gonna,
we don't.
that,
We don't
that'll only
have
be a
that.
millionth time I ever said it, we don't have a community center, but through the cooperation of this group, certainly the Lake Pleasant Fire Hall and so on, it's important that folks leave space open. This is a great space when you roll this stuff, the carpets up for everything from dance. I mean, what happens here, I don't think you could really even have the stroll without this. I mean, it's a pretty good use of Lane Emporium,
We were,
but
Maybe putting that in the paper.
Yeah.
Nice idea.
it's just, I mean, it's not bragging if you did
Nice
it.
idea.
You know, I don't think, this is not in a braggadocious way.
no, I
It is very important, both for the kudos for your board and yourself, but to let folks know what this space, which could have been pretty highly contested over time about the investment in this space, what this space is offering the community. Good for you.
Well, thank you. Okay, so if anybody ever, has any questions about the numbers here, just give me a call, let me know about, okay, say.
Why do you have so many adult books?
Why do we have so?
Oh, never mind, never mind.
Those are,
I was fooled by this last time, sorry.
those are adult books,
Well, I just,
because we censor nothing.
well, good for you.
We have adopted no censorship.
Okay.
So we censor nothing. Second thing on my agenda is, in the past, I had brought up the board's recommendation of Barbara Tracy to be a member on the library board of trustees. Barbara is not able to do it, but she never filled out the completion of that process. So that left a void in our board that we now would like to fill with a very good candidate who has agreed to serve, and that would be Florence Bronius.
Wow.
So I am looking for the approval of the town board to appoint, based on the recommendation of the Library Board of Trustees, to appoint Florence Bronius to complete the past term of Nancy Welch, which will expire December 31st, 2024.
Nice one, move.
I second.
Good choice.
Any discussion?
Nope.
No? Okay. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Right. Okay, I will so
Kathy?
notify Florence, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So
Good
that-
report.
Thank you, Kathy.
concludes-
Kathy abstained. Okay.
Kathy has to abstain.
That's a great report.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it, Karen? Was that it?
Oh, until public comment, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, you're on. Okay, next is town historian. Aaron Weaver is looking for permission from the town board for Memorial Day weekend at the town museum to portray Daniel Fish, who was a Lake Pleasant resident and died in 1812. Part of the uniform Aaron will be wearing also involves him carrying a flintlock musket rifle, which Aaron thought we may have concerns about. I spoke to Sheriff Abrams, and he said it is fine, there is nothing illegal about it, but Aaron would like to have the board's approval in the minutes, and if we can give him something in writing that he can carry that day, just in case someone has concerns, he can show them that it was approved.
Now, This is approval to carry, not shoot.
Correct. So I'm looking for a motion.
Unloaded. I move that we encourage Aaron to dress up and carry an unloaded muzzle loader
Yep.
for Memorial Day as he portrays Daniel Fish.
Correct. Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
So no shooting anyone. We're clear on that?
Right.
He can't conceal.
I mean, with provocation, I agree.
I got it.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay.
he makes it real.
Next on the agenda, I had planning board appointment. We're actually going to table that, so that will not be for discussion tonight. And then next I have a new RO system.
No,
Okay.
whatever that is.
Back in January of 2021, we had ordered a new RO system just to have on the shelf in case one of our old systems had failed. These systems are over 25 years old. In July of 2022, we had to replace Will and Ann Waller's old system, which was previous owners were the Stubbs, because the parts became obsolete. So we had discussed purchasing another one to have on the shelf, but never did. Bill Duvendorf recommended to order from the same company and the same unit we got the last time. So in 2021, you're not going to believe this, everybody, we paid $3,735. This year, the same unit is $3,290, $445 cheaper, and that includes the shipping right to town hall, and the lead time would be 2 to 5 days. So I'm looking for a motion to go into discussion on this.
I'll move.
Okay.
Second. Go for it.
And Neil. First, I do want to mention first that one of my concerns is if this new doggy daycare works out, that is one of the properties that has potential to have a contaminated well. We won't know once the time gets closer. I'll have Bill come up and we'll run the water and we'll do a test to see where we stand with that, if we're going to need the system there or not. No matter what, we need to get one on the shelf. So, any further discussion? Well, we're hoping that we won't need it for there, so that's
No,
why.
I'm just, at some point, these are not gonna be available anymore, and then you're looking at replacing more than just
Yeah,
the
Well-
whatever.
and I agree with what you're saying. We budgeted 5,000 for that line this year. So my concern is 3,290 plus our maintenance of all the other ones, and then shut down. But it's a very good idea to budget that or a little bit more, and towards the end of the year, order for next year, and then we will definitely
Stay one
have
ahead
one on
at
the
least.
shelf. Yes, yes. So, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, wow, that was easy. Any opposed? Okay, next, everybody received a copy of the expense control report and the revenue control reports. Does anybody have any questions? Nancy's here in case there is.
No, I just got them tonight.
Where you
Is
going
it
with that,
possible to get them, you know, when when do these get printed?
I got them Friday after they complete the bills.
Can they be left out so that when we go over the vouchers, we can take these
Yeah.
in the future?
I can do that.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah,
Cause I don't know where it is.
In case there's a quiz.
I love them though.
it will be done, Kathy.
No, thank you, I
Absolutely.
just, I don't.
Yeah, it's a
I don't
very
think-
good-
It's a great idea.
Very good suggestion.
Makes it easier. And if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate just to contact Nancy.
There you go.
Well, she's the budget officer.
Oh, believe me, she'd be the quickest
She's
answer.
got the
Yeah, right, temporary come.
You bet.
answers.
Yeah, we're already over on celebrate. I will look, I will call.
So one thing I will say, and Randy, you may have to help me with this, we got a check in the mail last week for the 480As. Is that correct? 480As from logging projects that were done in the town of Lake Pleasant. Last year, we got like $20-some hundred, I think it was, and this year it was over 9,000. So that was kind of a nice revenue to come in.
Yeah.
What a 4.8?
It's for people who are putting their private property in a certain category to make advantage themselves for taxes while they harvest lumber.
Oh,
And for that, the municipality gets a piece.
good.
Yeah,
It's a state program.
So if you have a tree farm and you have a forester come in and log your
Right,
property
it has to be
a certain way.
size.
Yes.
To fill, to
It
be
can't be 5
480.
acres, it's.
Yeah, I understand. We looked at them and. they're
so I just thought that was
too
pretty
restricted.
exciting that we got that much more this year than last year.
Stumpage tax.
There you go.
There you go.
Stumpage tax.
Thank you.
See?
Right, I think that was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Fourth line down in A.
Okay.
Revenue. And we budgeted 2,000, and so we had.
So that's nice.
Right.
We're a
At
little
one
ahead
point,
on that revenue.
with Corvetti, we were getting a little bit.
That doesn't
more.
usually
It's a big
happen, you know.
project, but
No.
you don't see that many big
Behind.
projects within the town.
Okay, so next we'll move
Yep.
right along to committee reports. Neil, did you have anything?
Not anything additional, no. I've spoken to the committees that I'm on, so
She never responded back, or she didn't
moving on.
Okay.
reply all. She didn't respond to you.
Okay, Rochelle, anything on committee report?
I don't think we have anything new for youth rec
No,
as of yet.
Samantha's putting together some ideas and then we're gonna get together.
Okay. Kathy, do you have anything else?
Nope, that would be cemetery and
Okay.
that's not open yet. Oh, when are the cemeteries open? When do they normally open?
Normally, they were somewhere around May 15th or so.
Okay.
It's, we'll see.
Good, because I wanna get up there and pick up the wreaths.
There you go.
It was kinda hard to do it after, you know.
If you want help, I'll help you with that.
Thank you.
Just let me know. Okay, so next is a motion to pay the bills, so I'm looking for a motion to pay all 3 abstracts, which were all dated April 13th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next is Karen, public comment. I'll let you
Okay,
start.
I only wrote a couple of notes because I really didn't have anything to say until I came to this meeting and heard some of the things that I heard. And this is only my question. You talked about the doggy daycare. I'm not familiar with where the property is that you're talking about. You said it's over by the town hall?
The old Charlie John's
You know where
house,
Charlie John's house?
With the
to the
turret?
left of,
Where Jensen's at?
yes.
Before that, so the property between there
Before
and town,
Jensen's?
there's
It's
a
in
barn in the back.
one person type.
Oh, I probably
It's
never
easy
even
to
noticed it, okay.
It's easy enough. Yeah, well, it was all one.
Oh,
And B.
Oh,
Waller
yeah.
had it, and then it was split
oh,
up.
all right.
So Jamie got the barn and that property in the back,
Yeah.
and they sold to someone before Jensen, I
So,
think.
so there weren't any neighbors there that would have complained about the doggy daycare?
The only one that could be a concern could be the people that live in B. Waller's old house, which
Okay. And
that they'll be having a planning board meeting on that.
Yeah, that just brought up a red flag, because where we lived in Gilderland, we lived in the country, and there was a proposal to put a dog shelter in very close proximity to where we were located. And there was a lot of public comment that came up about that, because dogs bark, bottom line. And it's a great idea, it's a wonderful idea, you know, but you still have to consider, that's why
Yeah.
I couldn't picture where that property was.
So when
But
you
it sits
look,
back down.
so when you
Sits
look
back from the road.
at that property, the house is here, there's a big, long white chicken coop here, the barn is
Okay.
behind the chicken coop.
Yeah, the
So
chicken
that
coop should
could
act as a
also
buffer.
help defray some of the
Okay,
noise too,
right, okay. I just-
hopefully.
Okay, so that has to go before the planning board, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
and I don't believe that those folks live here full-time, do they?
Oh, I don't know.
Not yet.
Don't think so,
Okay,
yeah.
it was just,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just a question. The neighbor should be notified.
Yeah, for any.
No, I have no, I
Yeah.
don't know that.
They should be notified.
Okay, anything else?
Number 2, you talked about the APA, Neil, and I think that's a great idea. How did the APA, did they have any input when the campsites, say, in Pasico closed? Or have they ever voiced any of their pros or cons to the campsites in general?
I don't know that they have
When they
that.
don't even approve of and have restricted riding a bicycle on forever wildland because it destroys the terrain. So I think it's a great idea. I also would not be surprised if, in their infinite wisdom, they would probably not even like to see a campground there.
The fact they
say that
haven't
tongue in
weighed
cheek.
in,
I say that
I tend to agree with you. They steer clear of these things, even though they speak in flowery terms
Right.
of
In tongues,
what's
so to
best,
speak.
what's best for the best life here for our
Right.
folks. This is just a perfect example of some of the most beautiful sites that the state has designated as places for people to be able to see Mother Nature in the Adirondack setting. I don't know why the DEC would need so much encouragement to use their own great assets. It's just something that, it rankles me that the park agency with such control over everything else and speaking to the commerce, always speaking, I would go up and speak from that side, from, my county job. And it was always, oh, we're Foursquare, we're for Anchor, you know, we're for the, that's
Have a flyer
great.
on it.
But let's talk about the actual commerce of the
Right.
communities. This is, right now, aimed directly at Lake Pleasant, but I think in the future you'll see more of it,
I think you make a good point, you might put them on the spot a little bit,
that's all,
you know?
that's all it is.
They do have a, I'll forward this to you, the APA does have a flyer on campgrounds
Okay?
that you
Oh, that
might
would be
wanna read
interesting.
and
Yeah, that would
reference.
be interesting.
Yeah.
Do we still have a local APA commissioner?
Oh, he's not on the
Danny?
APA anymore?
Danny isn't?
Dan's it, Dan Rowe.
Yeah, it's still on.
Is he?
Still,
Okay,
yeah.
I misspoke, I thought he had stepped down.
No, I think he's still on,
Well,
So
I will copy
perhaps-
him as well.
that's right.
You should be working hard to push that.
Somebody should be.
Okay, I have bullet number 3 and the last bullet on my list, which I just noticed when I came in, and then you mentioned the word sign. And
I
the
think
two
that
came,
lot.
and the two came together. The Harry Mason sign that's coming to this driveway really needs a refurbishing,
Okay.
because it's starting to look a little, it's a matter of perception, I think it should look nice.
I agree.
And it doesn't. It looks
You-
like it's
Harry was the
got
man.
weathered, it got weathered. And I just noticed it this evening, and you mentioned the word sign.
Rusty.
Rustic, yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna start referring to myself the same way.
well, since you're talking
So
about
Paul,
signs,
this is rustic. You know, when you get
Distressed
to
is,
that.
distressed is
I'm
popular.
Rusty.
Rusty.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Paul, Nancy?
I'll make one comment about
Sure.
the private road stuff that Randy was talking about earlier, just listening to it, right? Some disconnected ideas I'll just throw out there, right? One is, I don't know if you had mentioned, if you had sought a legal opinion, and I know that costs money when we do that, right? About whether we really actually have, any liability, right? And moral obligation is different than liability. So a moral obligation to help people in distress does not equate to liability unless you take certain actions and put yourself in that position sometimes. So I do think before we go, even if we've gone down this road before, right, we want to look at whether we really need to, versus applying pressure to Lime Timber and whatnot to either have their leases sign, a release that says if you arrest in the woods and we can't find you, it's tough cookies.
It's been 40 years since I had an APA lease.
Do you know what I
So,
mean? No, it's like,
but
I moved up
They
here
had a
and
lot of verbiage in there, Paul,
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right. We should know what they're telling these folks. They're
Right.
the ones collecting the
And we're
fees.
providing a service and we support the ambulance corps that's here, and we're very lucky to have them and the EMS training levels
Mhm.
we have around here. But that doesn't obligate us to service everyone that goes off the grid, in my opinion.
That's
When
what
I
I
moved
was
up here, I
referring
moved up here
to.
with that in mind, okay? And I often joke, I'm on the edge of the grid, I'm not off it unless I go up the road, but anyway.
Correct.
And then the last thing was just about the street address, it's for 911, or 911, excuse me. Like I live on a private road. And thank you for explaining to me finally how I got my sign. It's a private road, because I didn't know how it ever got there, I didn't argue with it. But at the end of the day, you can GPS locations without necessarily being like a registered road. So, like, my road took a long time to get recognized on GPS, and I think it came from me putting a button that said what this address was, right? Because for when I first started coming up here 20 years ago, you couldn't find it. 5 years ago, couldn't find it. FedEx, UPS, they can find it, fine. But there's nothing I can do where I give 113 Neverland Drive, Lake Pleasant, 12108 as an address where they don't say this address isn't recognized.
Right.
And when I got told about it, it was because the post office doesn't recognize it. They don't deliver mail there, therefore it's not a legal address. Just saying. It's, as you said, it's a complicated issue.
Right.
But until you You know, it's one thing to grant somebody the right to have a driveway, which is effectively a private road, a long private driveway, doesn't make you a box. So,
But
and I thank you for my sign regardless, so they can
if
find
there's
it.
more, with the 911 statute that I guess is throughout the county, this is coming from the county. If there's more than 2 residents on one road going in, there has to be a sign
Is that right?
naming that road.
Permanent residents or residents
No.
of any kind?
It can be,
Residents.
actually, it's called structure.
Okay, there you go.
So it can be 2 garages at the end of the road.
Okay.
It's really just the difference between a driveway and a private
realize,
road.
you know, that I have a 911 address, so that's why I got it.
Yeah, if there's 2 garages at the end of the thing and they're owned by different people, then technically you should be putting that.
Private road.
Anyway,
Yeah,
long-winded way of
So
saying it.
it'll help the census people back.
Yeah,
well, that
yeah.
too.
They find my house.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah, well, but I
they
wanna,
always want to check those camps.
Yeah.
well, yes, and we have a lease camp, and it's back, Doug Mountain and East Doug Mountain come together. A few years ago, we had a situation where someone was hurt, and the ambulance, you were on that call,
I was.
and how many people that were following that ambulance had no idea where they were going?
Almost
You
all of
know,
those.
almost all of them, you're right, almost all of them. I mean, and I was very thankful that they came, so.
But if we wanted to,
Are you obligated to go in
Right.
there? No, I think morally, these people who are on the ambulance, yeah, they're.
it'd be good if they had a map to try to give them the best
Oh.
shot as possible, and but we should be careful about
And
whether
that
they
was
tell them to
pre-
And not to throw a whole other
Yeah, I know, but,
aspect of this in, is you gotta remember, these are all leasees
yeah,
inside of the state of New York's lovely recreation, they have
Yeah.
recreational rights up there.
Right, it's a conservation easement.
Conservation easement on that property.
And if,
So now, do we try to chase after the state of New York to get money out of them and make the signs and so on and so forth? Of course, I'm going to, but we'll see how far that goes, because they maintain the roads for Lime Timber
and
now,
alter them.
and alter them and everything else. So why in the world can't we ask them for signs on their roads?
It's the absolute first way to go.
Yeah,
That they should have some, I'm not gonna say liability, I agree with Paul, some moral obligation to look out for the best possible outcomes. And again, the
Right.
further you get from the grid, you're proud of it until you're not.
Right.
But IP or Lime Timber, they should feel that moral obligation to
Lime-
do well by their lessees.
New York State DEC in Northville is supplying me with mileage signs and the new Jessup River road sign, the military road sign. These are all the roads that are on Lime Timber only, not town roads.
But it seems like it's
So
good
they're
faith,
private roads in my book.
but that's good faith,
But, so if that starts there, then Mud Lake Road and all these other little varieties should fall underneath that.
I agree.
But I'm sure that the lady that I'm speaking to, that I have connections with, and, is not gonna be able to go up to the food chain and say, I need $10,000 worth of signs and a whole new mapping system.
Yeah.
Probably they're gonna get laughed out of that meeting.
Well, the interesting part here comes when we start getting into some of those spurs that have ruts as deep as my
Yeah,
car, that I would never attempt, and I wouldn't expect an ambulance or anything else to attempt.
So maybe
But that's, that's part of this problem.
the approach isn't for the town to go to the DEC and the APA. Maybe the approach is, if you're gonna go as, just to guide them, is to take someone from the ambulance corps and the fire department with you and have them ask them.
Public safety.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's a safety issue, and we'd like your help. Learned that in sales training a real long time ago. I need your help, to help make these people that you're leasing property to safer. And New York State, you've got, whatever it is, a 50% interest in that lawsuit when it comes, and Lime's gonna have the other half, and the town of Lake Pleasant's not gonna have any, because there's no obligation there that I know of.
Should not be.
That's a good idea.
So,
well,
I like that one.
I like
The
that.
way I look at it, we'll probably have a powwow.
That's a really good
Meeting with
idea.
everybody in the room.
Yeah.
And not just the low end people, so that we're not accusing them or nothing like that.
Exactly.
Some of their bosses in with this, like I did for snowmobile trails.
Yep.
I think you were.
yeah.
Yeah,
Every
senior
August, I
foresters,
have a
sure.
meeting and say, let's all sit down in the same room, no fighting, let's all get along here.
Yep.
But this is the problem. How are we gonna resolve
It was a good meeting.
it? And we'll go from there.
Good.
Good luck.
It's
Okay.
just a big adventure.
Yeah, it's an undertaking.
Yeah.
Videotape it.
Absolutely. Okay, roundtable,
Just for-
Neil?
No, I
How
have
did I
my
do
marching
that?
orders for a letter to the APA, and hopefully they will see their moral obligation to help little old us.
Okay, Rochelle?
Two things. This coming Saturday is the Vicki Hoover Memorial Ice Out Plunge. We will be, I don't know that I will be personally, but people will be plunging in the lake at noon on Saturday. We are raising money for the Memorial Fund for trade school scholarships
Where is it?
Nice.
at the public beach. Yes, in
Public
Springfield.
beach side,
Yep,
okay? Saturday,
at noon.
at noon.
And then the other thing is the Regional Office of Sustainable Tourism is working with Miles Partnership on a destination optimization set of workshops for local businesses. They are free. There's more information about them on AdirondackExperience.com. Those are on 4/26 and 5/17, and they are basically to help local businesses optimize their searchability through Google, Yelp, and TripAdvisor. So definitely a huge thing to take advantage of.
Nice.
And that's it.
Okay, Kathy?
Nothing for roundtable.
Nothing? Okay, Stephanie?
I just want to ask the board, last year you all decided not to have the garbage and recycle schedule put in the newspaper. It cost, I think it was several $100s last year to have that whole front and back put in the newspaper. The newspaper did contact me and ask if you wanted it put in the May paper, so I just figured I better bring it up and find out if it's still gonna be a no. or-
The newspaper is going to no longer be even delivering to addresses, so I wouldn't see a perk to that. It's going to just be digital subscriptions and free pickup in places, so
I think that colored papers are what,
if people can pick
What
them up
moves
at the
the
town
needle?
hall.
Yeah,
this is a couple $100, that was
and
it?
they're in the post offices,
Right, but they're
and
handed
you
out.
have them
Yeah.
all over, and you keep replenishing them,
Right,
so,
they're available.
you know, as long as we keep doing that, you know, well into spring and into summer, when the people are coming back, so they can grab them wherever they are, and they have it.
Do we have them available at the transfer station?
The
I
sheets?
believe they are.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Our
Thought you meant to
local
have-
ones, I have not put at the transfer station, but we can get
I
them there.
believe my guys did, but.
They did?
I'm
Okay.
not-
It's not a bad thing for them to have to
No.
hand out if people have
But-
questions.
It's a good
It's a
idea,
great thing.
very good
Both
idea.
post offices, the store. So if anybody asks, town hall,
Lanatorium.
And we'll stick them on
Chamber.
there.
I
everything.
believe they're on the table there. I
Okay.
need to check and see if I need to put more.
June, because I'm seeing the stuff show up
I
already.
could probably leave them here at the
Hey,
library.
can I ask one
Okay.
more question about that?
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, I know it's not
Okay,
public
refrigerator
comment.
out
but
That's okay.
She triggered, sorry, Stephanie, I blame you, you triggered this one. Is there any, I don't think there's any hazmat disposal in this county, is there?
No.
In other words, no pesticides, no leftover paint and thinner, and
Nothing.
it encourages people to dump it. And I think that's really bad, right?
Yeah, I think that there's, for some of that, there might be,
Not in Hamilton
Controlled,
County, that I can find.
but I've always agreed with that notion, that if you don't give folks an opportunity to get
Just
rid
put
of
it- it's
old
put it up in
paint,
the woods.
the tires and so on,
Yeah.
then those of us who do the roadside cleaning will get another bite
Not
at it.
even that, it's the stuff you don't find unless you.
Oh, of course, some get into it.
Walk 100
Well, they
yards
take
up.
tires, right? They take
They
tires.
take tires,
They do.
Tires, they
batteries,
take
electronics.
You gotta make it as
Paint,
easy
you
as
have to
possible.
take, paint, you have to take the lid off and let it dry
They
out.
don't.
We'll put kitty
right,
litter
they
in
don't
it.
take
Kitty
most
And put
other
kitty litter in it,
hazardous
and then you can
materials.
take, I'm sorry?
They don't take most other hazardous materials, anything in your garden shed, they won't take.
They don't take antifreeze.
Antifreeze, paint thinners,
At the county. Yeah, you can.
they take motor oil.
Yeah,
I was just curious if I was missing something, but
no, it's been a bone of contention up in
Yeah.
county for a number of years as to whether, to your point, is it better to have a place, it's just it's an
and the other
expense,
thing I was
it's a
just gonna throw out
tremendous
there was a
expense.
shredder day like a lot of other counties have, but that's a thing you can ask for and pay for.
We've done that in the past, I don't
we
know.
always
Saw that up there.
Well, the library was thinking of doing that, but I
Right.
think it may be cost prohibitive,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
is.
yeah.
County had the big, trailer
Yeah.
monstrosity up there for a number of years. I don't know if it was well
It's
used.
very pricey to get them
You
anyway.
got them here in the first place, like everything else, right? to get
Yeah,
up
it
here.
is, it's,
It's too late this
Sorry.
year.
Okay,
Sorry,
anything else?
Randy?
Randy?
Sure. Paul mentioned this, she just asked me a question about it. Joke day. I just want this out loud so that you guys can talk about it. We have 3 of them, June, August, and October. The townwide trash day, whatever you wanna call it. And of course, it gets hit heavy beginning and end one. And the biggest problem I see with this, and I've said this to the board before, is they already started putting up the roadsides. Take a trip around Page Street. There's refrigerators, there's microwaves, there's
Every year we have this problem.
dishwashers, there's all kinds of neat stuff already stacked out there. I've received a few phone calls, what happens if I leave it in the edge of my road now? And I said, well, it's not very neighborly. That's pretty much all I can say at this point, because we are kind of still encouraging.
But doesn't it say in our garbage collection that they're not supposed to put it out 1 week prior to?
Yeah,
Oh, it says it on the sheets, yeah.
It
it
does.
says, please do not stack, it doesn't.
Well,
I'm
we
just
went down this road
saying,
before.
yeah, we've been down this road several times.
Many times.
With Bob said, someone's actually gotta make a complaint before they can have
Yeah.
something said. So somebody has to write a complaint that says, I don't like that refrigerator in the driveway.
And if the neighbor does that, then you know the
Yeah,
neighbor's.
then there's neighborhood war.
Right.
So where are we going with this?
I don't know where we wanna go with this. I'm just saying that out in public here, that this, you know,
He fixed
the
it.
good old boys neighborly thing is not to put everything out now, when you, knowing that we don't pick up until June, the 3rd week of June.
It's mentioned explicitly in the local law that was adopted. That all of this is mentioned, that there are fines in the local law, there's all, it falls apart when it's who's going to
Enforce it,
drop the dime.
right?
why do you have to have a complaint to enforce a law?
That's exactly
That's what it says
right.
in our,
They have to have a complaint?
yes,
Well, that's silly.
And sadly,
To
in
enforce a
writing.
law.
In writing.
that's what I said, but that's the way it is.
And a name, you can't just like,
It has to be written,
not only that, but you have to sign
and
it.
you have to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
To enforce a law. I can see if it's a complaint about something that doesn't affect a law that has been passed.
It's building code, and then versus a law, and
Oh, well,
that's,
that's different,
and
then it's a
that's-
code,
that's
right?
the way I understand it.
Well, it's a local
Was it a
law.
local law?
It's a local law that was taken up just before I came in office. It was a very hotly contested thing about what is an eyesore from the road.
Yeah.
And it wasn't specific just to what we're seeing now. It was people leaving their properties unhealthy, unkempt, whatever. And if it could be seen from the road, that board that I came on to work with was just, when you first came on to it, it had just been passed before us. And I was praising the town, Frank, for taking it up, because it was not universally thought to be the answer. It doesn't mean that it can't be amended to take away that onerous part that does not seem to work.
Are you talking about that big beautification thing that was a big thing a couple
I
years
mean,
ago?
yes, I can't tell you the name that was called in the local law, but it was very specific. And it wasn't about, well, I have a fence. Well, if your neighbors can see it, or people can readily see it from the road, and it is considered an eyesore. And then the last person on that was Vicky, actually, it was the enforcement officer. Many times when they were trying to press this issue, the enforcement officer would go with another person, sometimes me, so that they were not intimidated in some of these locations, who would not necessarily look out in the same landscape and see a problem.
So,
It's subjective.
It's a different,
It
it's a
is,
different,
it's subjective, you're
it's a
right.
different thing to tackle the problem of, outbuildings that are, and sheds that are collapsing and things like that versus if,
Right.
what he's
Versus
talking
safety.
about, which maybe just need, if we're not putting anything in the paper anymore about the pickups, I mean, maybe that has to be, a separate sheet or a big thing at the bottom that says,
Well,
early.
it's in our early pink rules and all that.
Sure.
If you put it in there that people who
We
got
don't
up
charge.
early will be fine,
I'm
and
just
then
saying
send
that
the bill.
by telling the public that we will come pick up your townwide trash on, third week on 3 months a year. And because of a few wrong people,
Right.
Everybody else will-
it can go on the wayside and you get done with it, and everybody's just gonna have to take their stuff to the dump.
Is there something,
So-
like,
Go ahead.
if, your town guys are driving around, they see something like that, take note of the address, is it possible to send a letter to the homeowner and say, hey, it's too early for this, please clean it up, or
Yes,
further
it is.
steps will be taken?
Or a
So,
warrant,
2.5, 3 years ago, we went through this. I got a complaint,
That long ago.
I think it is. Anyway, before I went to work in the morning, I walked the road and I took pictures. And I did bring them to the board to see the pictures. And I did send a copy of the local law and a letter to this individual. And he did come in my office when he got it in the mail in a little bit of a huff. And I said, hang on 1 minute. And I said, I have a folder right over here. And I pulled out the folder and I laid them out at the table of all the pictures. And I said, is this your property? Is this the end of your driveway? Is this your across the street from your driveway? Yes, yes, yes. And he was angry. But I have to be honest, I stood my ground and he really did clean it up.
Yeah.
He did a good job. The problem is he put the garbage out in the town right away. It was right next to the edge of the road. And it was creating a hazard, was one of the big problems. But since then, I think, is it still okay or is it building again?
That one is, we'll leave it at okay.
Okay.
The ones that
Okay.
I am speaking of now is not that same.
So maybe we need to do this again.
It may just be people are uninformed, I think the point you're making right now. And that's why I was saying, maybe you just start with on the
I'm
flyer.
not pretty
it's
sure
too
this
late to
person's
print it.
I think
Yeah.
it's worth a letter, just,
But if we got something going out.
you
like-
need to point out to folks that are violating what.
So
what's
if you give
let
me
out there.
names and addresses,
Yeah,
I'll follow through on
Even
that.
if it waits till
I'll send a
next
copy
year,
of the
we put it in
law
that
with a
flyer,
letter.
I mean, It's something in the right direction.
well, it's already on the flyer. You just-
oh, it's on the
Right,
flyer.
right.
Oh, yeah, we make
Isn't that-
sure that's a bold print.
Right.
With no penalty associated.
Yeah, no.
No, the letter
Just
has
says,
to
"Please don't
be
do
the
this."
first step.
And
I
the
don't
letters like
wanna
everything
hurt
else.
people that don't have pickup trucks.
No, I don't think this will hurt.
But
But if they get me the name and address or whatever of these people, I'll just send a letter to them.
Send them a copy of the flyer and just.
Yes, and,
Yeah, that could be fun.
This is not
Yeah.
an open thing to litter.
Right.
This is a service that we're rendering that many, many towns do not.
right.
That you have to hire an artisan to come and take
Oh, yeah.
it away.
And
I
then,
did see a refrigerator on the side of the road that still had the doors on it as well, which is a
That's-
safety.
that's
Now,
concern.
Violation,
it's unsafe.
Right.
yeah,
complete.
yeah.
It's funny, I
So-
use this event though to trigger me to ask you, when is the jump day coming up? 'Cause is it 6 weeks out or 2 weeks out? You know?
Yeah, it's the
It's a
third week
while.
of June.
So sort of on the same note, Community Pride Day is Wednesday, May 3rd, and we will not be meeting here at the library as we previously planned. We will be meeting at 10 a.m. at the second parking area, going out of town on the left like we did last year. I do want to mention that hot lunches, which is lasagna, will be provided at the senior meal site and available at noon for everyone that picks up garbage. Steve Stefano will be delivering the trash bags to us. So anybody that wants to volunteer, please let us know. We kind of have to give a sort of head count for the lunch.
Where are you going to be again?
We're meeting at,
No.
Where
So-
the pressure washer is.
yeah, where the boat wash station is. Right,
That's what it's.
May 3rd?
May 3rd. Yeah. Anybody wants to do it, just let me know.
We're not gonna be back.
10 a.m.
We'll be back there.
10 a.m.
That's gonna have to get ready to go too. The boat.
They usually contact us.
Yeah,
and-
they haven't contacted me yet when they
Yeah.
want it.
Next is, we have a pop-up event, Salute to Service Veterans Coalition, which is Wednesday, April 19th, from 5 to 7:30 at the Higher Ground Distilling Company in Mayfield, which is sponsored by Upstate Property Management New York LLC. So anybody is interested in that, it is up here in the front.
We will be busy.
I'm sorry?
We'll be busy.
Yeah.
The bourbon's good too.
So, next I just want to mention that Gavac has been sold or is in the process of selling, which Tom Pasquarelli had told me that last year, mid-year, that this was in the process. So anyway, we had talked about it. There will be a rate change for patients transported by Lake Valley EMS. Tom has assured me that the rate change will not affect any money that the town pays. It won't affect any of the towns up in this area because GAVAC doesn't transport our patients. We do, our local ambulance does. So the new rates will only reflect the payment schedules that insurance companies pay for them, that pay GAVAC directly, or now it will now be Lake Valley EMS. So there will not be any operation changes, just a new company name with the same employees. And our contract, just to let everybody know, does not expire until 2024. So I just wanted to mention that. Within 1 week after it was reported at our meeting about the street lights, were not replaced with LED. There was 2 on Tamarack Road and 1 on Fish Mountain Road. Other way around? Okay. They were replaced. I contacted her and she answered me right back and said she would get a crew up there to be done by the end of the week, and it was.
I like that.
So that's a plus. Thursday, Nancy and I will be meeting and we have to do up a treasurer's report for the ARPA fund because our garbage truck is not here and we haven't spent the money, so we have to go through another quarter. So that's just the story with that. And our next meeting is May 1st at 7 p.m. at the library, and I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Well, with Don missing, I guess I will move.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you indeed.
Lots of notes here, lots of things to do tomorrow morning. Lots of reminders. Yes, sir.
One is what time and where Wednesday we go together.
We have, and I can drive, we have to meet her at 2. So,
8:33.
That I can pay for it.
We're at 2 o'clock at Litown, right?
yeah.
I'll be ready at 1. You're gonna pick me up, and anytime you
1 o'clock.
pull up.
Can you send me the information on the chamber dinner?
Sure.
Good night, ladies.
Sure.
Good night.
Good call. Thanks, buddy.